Miguel Almirón covered his mouth with his hand for less than 2 seconds. That single gesture ended his involvement in this World Cup, knocked Turkey out of the tournament, and is now the most argued about moment of the entire competition. Not a tackle, not a punch, not a single word anyone in that stadium could actually hear. A hand briefly raised to a mouth during a heated exchange with Turkey's Mert Muldur. Referee Ivan Barton went to the monitor, watched the replay once, and showed red. Paraguay's coach stood in front of the cameras afterward and said something that has since spread across every football forum on the planet. "I fear we are too strict and football loses its essence." Then he said the part that should worry you more. "There's nothing I can do about that. It happened, and it happened." By the time you finish this video, you will understand exactly why fans are now split into two furious camps, and why this is not the last time this exact rule is going to decide a World Cup result. Here is precisely what happened, because the details matter more than the headline. First half stoppage time. Paraguay leading 1-0 through Matias Galarza's opener, the fastest goal of the tournament, scored just 64 seconds in. A hard foul near midfield sparks a brief confrontation. Almiron exchanges words with Muldur. As he speaks, his hand comes up to cover his mouth. Muldur immediately appeals to the referee. Barton reviews it on the monitor. No hesitation. Straight red. Almiron is gone before halftime has even started, and Paraguay are about to play the entire second half a man down in a match they cannot afford to lose. The rule itself has a name now. Players and fans are already calling it the Vini Rule, or the Prestiani Law. It traces back to a Champions League incident months ago, when Benfica's Gianluca Prestiani was caught covering his mouth while appearing to direct racial abuse at Real Madrid player Vinicius Jr. The International Football Association Board fast-tracked the regulation in April, specifically for this World Cup. The principle is genuinely defensible. If officials cannot read lips or identify what is being said, racist and abusive language goes unpunished. FIFA built a tool to close that gap. Almiron just became the first player in World Cup history to walk straight into it. But here's where this story stops being simple. Almiron is not new to this tournament's experimental new rulebook. Earlier in the competition, in Paraguay's opening match against the United States, he was at the center of a completely different new rule controversy, initially appearing to win a foul when United States player Tim Ream was shown a yellow card for tripping him, only for VAR to review it under a separate new mistaken identity regulation and reverse the decision entirely. Ream's card was removed. Almiron was booked instead, for diving. Twice now, in the space of one tournament, Miguel Almirón has been the player FIFA's brand new disciplinary experiments have landed on first. Whatever you think about the rules themselves, that is an extraordinary coincidence for one 32-year-old midfielder to carry through a single World Cup. On the Fox Sports halftime panel, analysts Thiago Alcantara and Juan Pablo Angel reviewed the sending off live, and called Almiron's actions unwarranted given what was actually at stake in the match. Not unwarranted as in undeserving of punishment under the letter of the law. Unwarranted as in reckless, given that Paraguay needed every player on that pitch to survive Turkey's response. That distinction matters. Even pundits broadly sympathetic to protecting players from abuse are now openly asking whether the rules application here had anything to do with its original purpose. And that is exactly where football's comment sections have split into two furious camps. One side argues this is straightforward. Cover your mouth during a confrontation. You accept the risk, no exceptions, no excuses, because the moment FIFA starts making case-by-case judgment calls on intent, the rule becomes meaningless. The other side is asking a much sharper question. Was Almiron hiding genuine abuse, or was he simply talking with his hand near his face the way thousands of players have done in thousands of confrontations for decades? Nobody outside that exchange knows what was actually said. Mert Muldur knows. Almiron knows. Everyone else is left interpreting a gesture, and trusting that the system built to catch racism is mature enough not to also catch an ordinary heated exchange in its net. That tension between a rule with a genuinely good origin story and a rule already being applied to something that may have had nothing to do with that origin is the real story here. Not a weird red card. It is a governing body trying to legislate intent in real time, under the pressure of a World Cup match, with a referee given seconds to decide whether what he just watched was abuse or argument. Here is the twist almost nobody talking about this story is mentioning. Paraguay did not lose. They played the entire second half with 10 men, against a Turkey side that needed a result to survive, and they held their nerve. 1-0. Final whistle. Turkey are out of the World Cup. Paraguay advance. A red card that should have buried their campaign instead became the backdrop to one of the most resilient defensive performances anyone has produced at this tournament. Almiron reportedly apologized to his teammates afterward, fully aware of what his half-second decision had cost them for 50-plus minutes of football. Alfaro tried to lift him up, telling him his absence had drawn out the fighting spirit of the team playing around him. There is something almost uncomfortable about that, a rule designed to protect the integrity of the sport ending up as the exact obstacle Paraguay's players had to fight through to prove theirs. Almiron now misses Paraguay's final group match against Australia entirely. Both nations are level on points, separated only by goal difference, and both would likely accept a draw to advance. Paraguay will have to find a way to get that result without the player who started their tournament and ended it in the space of 2 matches. As FIFA's most unfortunate test case, this tournament already has more red cards than the last 2 World Cups combined. The rule that ended Almiron's involvement will not be the last time it decides a result. Every confrontation from here forward carries the same risk: a hand near a mouth, a referee with seconds to judge intent, and a result that could swing an entire group stage on something nobody outside the pitch can actually hear. Paraguay's coach already told you which side of this debate he's standing on. The question now is which side you're on, and whether FIFA is protecting football or slowly changing what the game is allowed to look like. Subscribe if you want to see exactly how far FIFA takes this rule before the tournament is over.